Hey everyone, welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
We are back to review Halloween number 2.
Yes.
This is the follow-up to the John Carpenter classic that was not directed by him, but was still scored and produced by him and Deborah Hill. So this one, Marcia, I think we might both be able to agree is not as good as the first.
Not as
good.
Not as good. No.
So we'll do our overall thoughts, then we'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, all that good stuff in turn. And my overall thoughts, as you just saw, I was not as impressed with this. I thought it was a much less interesting version of one, much more rote, much more easy, as it were. I mean, there's no real character development to be had except for side characters that don't last anyway. And then our main character from the last movie is really pushed into this barely visible point, at which point she's just run. I don't know that she had more than like 3 lines of dialogue in the whole damn movie.
Not really.
So
They're half dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I was very disappointed in 2. I don't think the mask even looks like the same mask from the first one. It's gotten so dirty in that amount of time. It didn't make sense, but it was supposed to be the same night. It didn't look like the same mask. And while the kills were still okay, they weren't he wasn't as funny. Like, he didn't have the humor. He didn't have sort of the gravitas that I felt like he had in the first one. So overall, I was just kind of disappointed with number 2. What about you?
I mean, I thought it was okay. There's a few things that I liked about it. I do like the fact that it does picks up right up off of the first one. So you're continuing the night. You feel like you're gonna get a resolution to the story, which is nice. I like how you did get to experience him after he got up and walked away, and you got to experience that. However, to your point, there really wasn't much to this story. You're just everybody's just running around amok, just trying to figure out where Michael is. Did he catch on fire? Did he not catch on fire?
Loomis and Marion,
yeah. And then eventually, and as this is happening, they start to reveal the bodies. So you did get a few drama moments when, the bodies were revealed and the sheriff realizes, his daughter's gone, which is sad.
And it's also revealed the familial connection in this one.
Right. Yeah. And you get that in flashbacks, and also at the end when they finally
finally tell Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when they finally tell Loomis.
Oh, well, that's true too. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, I probably should go save Lori."
Yeah.
So that was very convenient. It's like, how does somebody who's been studying him for 15 years not know that fact? So I know I'm getting into story, but overall, I mean, I still enjoyed it because I love the set. So I love that you got more of the background. You got the connection between him and Lori. You got to see the real supernatural side of him, of how he just keeps going. He's like the Energizer Bunny. You cannot put him down. And people still have not got into the habit of the double tap. That still has not been invented yet. So he keeps coming back. But yeah, Lori, not as impressive. The side character's not as impressive, or you care at all. So it's not as good as the first one, but I still find it enjoyable.
Okay. So the story is, as she mentioned, it picks up right after the first one leaves off. Lori is carted off to the hospital. Michael Myers somehow tracks her down at the hospital.
They explain that.
Yeah. How?
When he was going into the city and he heard somebody, he had a boombox. He had the boombox and the radio was going because everybody was talking about the murders, and it said, "The only survivor is at the Haddonfield Memorial," and he's like, "Oh, there's a sign that says Haddonfield right there."
So he just goes right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very convenient writing. It's not nearly as interesting. There's not as much stalking. Lori is barely involved. She's asleep half the movie. We meet these characters in the hospital that you don't end up caring about at all. And one guy actually makes it to a comic book. Jimmy makes it to the comic, but he's basically an invalid because of his head injury that he receives and slipping on blood.
Right.
But yeah, the whole movie is just it's Michael trying to track down Jamie Lee, and does he succeed or not? And that's basically what goes. Now, it's not the most interesting of storylines, but I guess when you really boil down number one was just him stalking and trying to go after her as well. So it's not that different as far as story goes, but it just feels much less layered than the first one was. There's not as many characters you care about. There's no like friendship bonds between Laurie and anyone else that you care about. They try and force a love interest, like a brand new love interest in the ambulance driver. That doesn't really work at all. So it just was kind of a bummer overall, the story. What about for you?
I did like the fact that Ben, her love interest in first, ended up being
her off-camera love interest.
Her off-camera love interest or crush or whatever ended up being the kid that was caught on fire.
Mm-hmm, that was hit by the car and caught on fire right away.
And they thought it was Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We accidentally killed Laurie's love interest.
Yeah.
Oops.
So now she's gonna date Jimmy.
Yeah.
But not
invalid
for long.
Jimmy. Yeah, not for very long at all.
Yeah.
Not at all, really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What was the question?
Oh, just the story. How did you feel about how it played out and everything? Did you like 2? I mean, obviously it's nowhere near 1. But...
No, I mean, it took him a long time to figure out where Michael was going, and a lot of things didn't make sense. Like when they like left the hospital, like the one nurse leaves the hospital and she's like, "Oh, all the tires are slit. I should go back into the hospital that everybody's dying in." Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense to me, but that's okay. Overall, I mean, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't the best storyline. It definitely wasn't 1, and or H2O. I love H2O.
We'll get to it. I
can't wait to H2O. But it played it. It had its purpose, and it gave us a resolution. That I think we even talked about later that doesn't make sense when you go forward with this series because I think
everyone knows there's a giant explosion at the end of 2.
Yeah.
Loomis causes it, and Loomis escapes with like barely an issue on one side of his face, whereas Michael Myers burns up like a freaking hot dog caught on fire, like a hot marshmallow, and Loomis we don't even see, but somehow he's okay compared to Michael Myers. So it's a really odd ending, and it's really convenient. But again, that's only because we're looking at it through the lens of knowing there are other movies later when he comes back with this situation.
I think they meant for it to be an end,
yeah.
Because obviously then you have the 3 that has nothing to do with the Michael story. It was only meant to be those 2 movies, and then they realized that everybody just wants Michael.
They're like,
so then we'll just bring him back when 4 comes around. But I thought it was interesting when that moment when Laurie realizes, you know, hey, it's my brother. Oh my god, and her and Loomis are kind of doing a monkey in the middle with him, and he's kind of going back and forth, it's like slashing away, like, where are you? And she's like, Michael, and he stopped and he looked at her and he's all like, oh.
And then he raises the knife back up and starts coming at her again.
Yeah, but there was a moment where he thought about, maybe I should.
And he just starts swiping, and wherever the gas goes, he starts swiping, and it's like, wait, no, you can hear her whining right in front of you. Why would you swipe the other way just because gas went off on the other side of the room? But
well, you know, they never gave you an IQ score for Michael.
Now there were a couple of good. Kills, gore moments. I mean, not really gory still.
You don't see a lot of, like...
You see skin being peeled away from the scalding hot tub one.
That was cool.
But everyone else is kind of, not really that gory. In the eye, and then the nurse... What I liked was the one that the nurse gets killed and, like, raised up, and he's, like, holding her while Laurie's, like, in that weird, blurry vision. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was, to me, uninspired kills. I mean...
I think it's hard because right now, to us, it's kind of hindsight because we've seen so much since then, and I have to feel at the time it had to been a little bit more frightening than how we're going to perceive it now. But
I would hope.
Yeah, I hope so. But I still thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Jimmy was kind of annoying, but I'm glad when those other guys died. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like fucking.
Well, and Jimmy didn't die. Don't forget, Jimmy didn't die.
No, that's true.
So anyway, guys, let's move on to, since there weren't that many effects to speak of. Let's talk about the sound and the score. John Carpenter does come back to do the score once again, but I think he's trying so hard to not be his score, while still paying homage to the first score, it didn't work. It was way more guitar, I felt like, in this one than it was like, you know, the original one is really unnerving, but this one felt like so electronica and like dun 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 dun. It was like so heavy that it like took me out of it. I don't know. It didn't lend to it. It literally fought the images I was seeing. What did you think of it?
I really didn't notice it.
Really?
And that's like, I mean, at all. Like, I didn't notice the score at all. Like, I was just like watching. I think I was like really concentrating on like the dialogue and what was happening and what they were trying to accomplish there and the cinematography and things. Like, I mean, yeah, you have the musical cues that you're used to, but I didn't have that same effect as the first one did, because there was too much action going on and to me, and dialogue going on, versus the other one had a good balance.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like, I felt the beginning was a lot stronger. It felt so much more like the first, but as it developed, it went way off the rails.
Well, they tunneled themselves into this hospital where it's not that interesting, and then you're stuck playing out there for the rest of the movie. So
if she could have just got out when
she literally did get out,
and then went right back in,
and then just went back in, yeah.
Because she couldn't figure out how to get around Jimmy. I don't know.
But yeah. So I mean, I don't know, guys. There's not much more to say about 2. Do you have anything else to say about
really.
it? It's just kind of, it is what it is. It's a standard sequel, just trying to milk the franchise right up front. It did have the pedigree of having Carpenter involved, but only with the score and in a producerial role. So it didn't feel like, it felt like a knockoff of 1, and that's not a good thing. And
Especially
Jamie Lee didn't get a chance to shine. She was either asleep in a hospital bed or like moaning while she's limping around a hospital the entire time, and that's so detrimental to, you know, to the film, in my opinion, as far as giving your main character personality and interest. I don't know.
Just like knock her out the whole time. It doesn't even. That seems like a waste of talent.
Well, and then there was a time when they literally came in and like she was catatonic almost. They were looking at her eyes and they weren't moving everything. And the next time we see her, she's out of bed walking around in the hallways. It's like, wait, what? What happened?
Well, she got off the drugs because all the nurses were dead, so they couldn't keep it going.
I guess.
Just couldn't keep it going.
So
I don't know. I feel like it was a means to the end, and that's what it ended up being. It was a means to the end, but then they didn't foresee it coming back, and then it did.
Does H2O acknowledge part 2 or just part 1?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. I gotta look into that.
I think I felt like it just kind of was like, I had a brother and he killed a lot of people, my friends, and I've been in like hiding ever since.
But now I'm a headmistress of a private school.
With Josh Hartnett as my son. LL Cool J.
Well,
hanging out with the ladies.
Well, we'll get to it, Marcia. We'll get to it. Let's not jump the
gun. It's close.
All right. So thank you guys very much for watching our review of Halloween 2. Let us know in the comments down below. How do you like this one? Where does it fall on the Halloween, spectrum? Exactly. Let us know in the comments down below. Also, in the comments down below, go ahead and click the link in the description box for our Patreon if you want to support the channel. And that way you can tell us some movies to review, or a comic to review, or a video game to do a Let's Play of. You can do all that if you join the Patreon. So thank you guys very much for supporting the channel that way if you do. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And remember, stay scared.
I don't know why I didn't come out.